Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. The number one hated Broncos channel on the internet, the number one copied Broncos channel on the internet, because we are always spot on with what we talk about. So what does Sports Talk Radio have to do? They have to say, honk, honk, juggle, juggle. See our film room. You can't see the film, though. We'll just talk about it. That's our film room. The film room we can only see, but you can't. So I thought I'd open up with that. I didn't do a good job at that, but you get the gist of it anyway. How you doing?
Good. You?
Pretty good. Pretty good. So looks like the Broncos got some new players, and we can talk about how this whole thing shook out. That it's obvious that the Broncos, Dove Valley, and when you listen to Sports Talk Radio, because they're connected together, one's the mouthpiece for the other, they don't seem to think they have any problems with their offensive line. So what do they do to address their offensive line? They get hot tub time machine. They actually don't address that situation. Fortunately, they got Moody, and that's about all we got to hope. Then they bring in another hot tub time machine, and can you give me his name?
Bobby Massey from the Chicago Bears.
Bobby Massey, hot tub time machine 2.0 from the Chicago Bears. I'm assuming that his role, as much as the talk about competition and all that, is probably to he would be a backup, a $4 million backup, but there's no way this guy's going to go full time, because Chicago actually had him penciled in for another year. They signed him up, and then they gave him the axe. They extended it, then they gave him the axe because they took a look at his injury and stuff. They were happy with what they saw. So that's what how the Broncos offensive line gets taken care of. Now, you said there was another guy you liked on the offensive line that they brought in?
Cameron Fleming is a guy that I've been a fan of. I've been watching his career very closely. He's pretty much a depth swing tackle. A very good one. He played for the Patriots. He's played for the Giants. He's one of those players that doesn't really get hurt, like a Bobby Massey and Juwan James, and he's Mr. Reliable. And I do like that signing more than I do like the Bobby Massey signing. I think the Bobby Massey signing is a Juwan James 2.0, and the Broncos were forced to cut that player because he got hurt, like we both predicted again. You pass on Rashawn Slater, like I'll continue to bring up over and over again. And so you're going out and grabbing what you can, grabbing straws what you can. So this is Elway for you right here. Those signings, they're Elway moves right there.
Well, it's how they came about. We didn't structure it where we don't need to do this, because I was thinking, the Broncos, the way they're throwing things together like spaghetti against a wall, hoping what sticks. I was trying to find out who have they developed since they drafted, brought in. We could say everybody's going to point to
Bowles.
The most resourced, resourced player to develop. One may argue Cortland Sutton. I don't think that would have came about had it not been for Sanders. I think Sanders really developed him. And if I think that's where that credit needs to be. And I just can't think of any other. I mean, you could say, is Fant developed? Well, he's developing. Maybe, I don't know. Is blocking? There's no blocking. But are you? Do you put him in where that's not really why you brought him in? He's kind of really a receiver.
I think
receivers do. What's that?
I think that with Noah Fant, I think that he would have developed more this year if he was still under the Rich Scangarello offense, because I think that they utilize the tight ends more, unlike the Pat Shurmur offense when they do. It's basically a souped-up version of the Mike McCoy offense, which I have continually pound the table on. But I think if he was still under the Rich Scangarello offense, he would have developed quite nicely into a pretty good tight end in this league. I'm not saying that he isn't. I think that he is.
Well, you're saying beyond just
Yes.
receiver where you get
Yeah.
some where you can get them trained to block and put them in certain
Yes.
blocking schemes that work. At least chip, you
Yes.
know. And I want to bring this up too. Is I want to bring the line. Go back to the lines. Is that listening to what little I do of sports talk radio? Very little. I really don't listen to too much. There's always a theme with them. One is the quarterback sucks or Drew Lock sucks, and there's nothing wrong with the offensive line. So, you know, I have produced videos here showing Drew Lock's the problems that he's had with their footwork, making bad decisions. I've never shied away from that. So I don't want to hear sports talk radio just say that this is, some sort of apology for Locke. What I'm trying to get across is developing players. That's why I brought that. Who have we developed? I mean, as an organization, it just seems like we can't develop anybody. And I'm going to get into, you need to have a top flight offensive line really to develop. I'll put it this way: the biggest problem with the Denver Broncos offensive line is consistency. They're just not a consistent offensive line, and it's a mathematical equation. If you don't have consistent offensive line play, you don't have consistent quarterback play. Nothing screamed out in the Super Bowl more than anything. We know that Mahomes is a capable quarterback, but you take that line and tear that line apart. He's just another guy out there like all the other guys that everybody wants to give up on, throwing errant passes and run around like a chicken with his head cut off. So, again, unlike sports talk radio, we try to talk about the lines. We try to educate the viewer that, all these parts are interchangeable and they're very important with each other. You mentioned Noah Fant, the Scandrella system, and how that could have benefited his growth, the growth of our quarterback. Maybe the offensive line would have helped out with their problems. Now, we know Sports Talk Radio has a so-called, I call it a so-called film room because you don't really get to see it. They just talk about their film room. Well, I showed video of Locke getting injured, and it was totally due to the offensive line. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I showed it. Everybody could see it. And not one person said, yep, nope, it was all Locke. So I'm not apologizing for Locke. But here's the thing. There's this quarterback competition nonsense, too. This team, they don't believe in Bridgewater either, okay? They don't believe in either one of these quarterbacks. Had Elway got his hand on Trey Lance, I think you were right. You were the ones that was saying, no, it's Trey Lance. And I think you were absolutely right about that. They would have shipped both of them out. And then they killed Trey Lance, so they could have killed three quarterbacks with one swing of the bat. So instead of sitting here blaming the quarterback for this and that, matter of fact, that film room, Mark Schlereth was talking about Bridgewater, some series of plays Bridgewater was in, and he was trying to lead the receivers so that the defender wouldn't intercept the ball. Well, that's true and everything, but it doesn't. You just can't say that's just with Bridgewater. You have to look at things that are hampering Locke, like play calling. For instance, having Fant go 40 yards to not even chip the. Now I don't know if that was all on Shermer, at least the chipping part. Maybe Fant should have done that, but why would you have him go 40 yards when that defensive lineman's coming in as a free runner, and they had the play away from him. You remember the play? It was the Raiders, I believe.
Yeah,
the Raiders, and he just gets nailed in the back, and then you have the audacity as a media channel to get up there and say Locke's afraid. Well, when your offensive line is inconsistent and getting your killed by the blind side, what do you want? You saw what happened in the Super Bowl. Mahomes was afraid. I mean, obviously, and he had every reason to be because the offensive line collapsed around him. And that's what happens to these quarterbacks. The Pittsburgh game with Driscoll. That was just, that's the game that Locke got. They got Locke killed.
Mm-hmm.
and Driscoll's running around with a chicken like a chicken with his head. And how am I supposed to run a playbook when you can't block anybody? Oh no, you're out of here.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And that's the problem. We're not talking about these lines enough. We got a schedule. It's the 27th weakest. It's a loser schedule. It's a cellar dweller schedule. No, you're not 11-5. No, I'm sorry, you're not. You're just not. And you still got to play 2 games of 3 division foes. Okay, that you got to go through that gauntlet. Yep. You have Cleveland. you got to play Cleveland. You got to play Pittsburgh, and you got to play the Ravens. And I'm hearing sports talk radio. Oh, they'll beat the Ravens. I know. Okay, yeah. But it'll all be Locke's fault or the other quarterback. It'll be his fault. It'll be those guys' fault. Get rid of both of them.
I just want to bring up. I want to go back to the offensive line, and then I will talk about the schedule. I want to talk about both lines because I agree with you. I don't think we talk about these enough, and I don't think that sports talk radio does because they like to talk about quarterbacks all day. That's how they get their views.
But they got a film room. They don't want to talk about it, but they got a film room.
Yeah, they got a film room that they don't show to the public. If you believe that they have a film room, you must be really into that Kool-Aid. But
just trust us. We've never lied to you.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about this offensive line for the Denver Broncos and how this correlates to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't think a lot of people have brought this up in Broncos country or in the media. What did the Chiefs do this offseason?
They rebuilt their offensive line.
Yeah, they rebuilt their offensive line.
Number one.
Yeah, at least they have a clue on how to build a NFL team from the ground out. You were one of the first people
Inside out.
Yep, inside out. And they got the likes of Joe Thuney, who I was a big fan of from the Patriots. Austin Beeline. They drafted Creed Humphrey to develop under Austin Beeline. I mean,
we're talking development now. You're talking development.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I'm going to let you keep going, but when we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, oh, you're wearing a Chiefs uniform. No, we're making observations about what works. They know how to develop. They know how to develop. They've been developing players since right before they really started getting a clue.
Since Kyle Morton was there.
Well, even before that quarterback, Alex
Smith.
Alex Smith, yeah. They started really doing really well with player development, bringing them in, and developing them. Go ahead. Yes. What is it?
No, you're fine. And then they brought in Orlando Brown. I mean, they're building it correctly, and then you have the Denver Broncos who go sign 3 right tackles in 3 days. That makes no sense to me. You didn't go out and sign a veteran center, maybe to help Lloyd Cushenberry, the guy from Wisconsin, Whitewater, who I'm such a big fan of, and I just love this guy. I love his character, and I love the work that he's putting in. I think he's going to beat Lloyd Cushenberry at the center position. What a wasted 3rd-round pick Lloyd Cushenberry was. You were the first person.
Well, unless he develops to be a backup, a good, solid
maybe like a swing center guard or something, or maybe that's what Myers does. Who knows? The Wisconsin Whitewater guy.
We still
got Nate Moody, who I'm a big fan of, who I was a big fan out coming from Fresno State. It's just the offensive.
We're thin.
Yeah, we're thin. Well, okay. Juwan James, okay, they were forced to cut him, okay? What did me and you say this offseason? Said you need to upgrade at that right tackle position because you can't trust Juwan James for a full 17-game schedule.
Well, just one thing. I was saying it the year before.
You were saying it. Yeah. You were the first person to, put the red alert sirens on, saying that you give this guy the highest paid right tackle money at his time. Makes no sense to me. Miami was laughing when we gave this guy money.
And that's Miami. We're not talking
Miami here.
The Patriots. We're talking Miami. Yeah, they're laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Miami fan now, which the people in the comments will say, but whatever. You're free to your own opinion. But yeah, this offensive line, you put all your offensive line, you put all of your resources in for 3 years just to develop a wasted first-round pick in Garrett Bowles. Dalton Risner, I'm still a believer in Dalton Risner. I know that you have your questions and have your holds, but I still believe in Dalton Risner. The center position has been in flux since Matt Paradis left. The right guard position has been in flux since Luis Vasquez left. Nobody likes to bring that up either.
It was important to get rid of Paradis. That was a executive move that needed to get done. We could spend all this Juwan James money on Paradis. No.
Yeah. You go out. The right guard position's been just like the right tackle position since Luis Vasquez has left. Guess how long that's been? 5 years, 6 years. That's been a revolving door at right guard. Ron O'Leary, Max Garcia, Michael Schofield. Like, are you kidding me? And then your right tackle position, Menelik Watson, Juwan James, Donald Stevenson, Jared Valdir, who I think has been the best right tackle since Orlando Franklin. Shocker. But he says this team's going to go, 12 and 5 or something like that because of the 17-game schedule, which is blowing my mind. Orlando Franklin, come on, you're better than that, buddy. Please.
Well, they have to say that because they're getting paid. They're the mouthpiece for
talking points. Yep.
Well, and don't you know that we got a running back? He's the next Earl Campbell. Yeah, he's very next.
Devontae Williams, who's a Royce Freeman 2.0. Even the national media said you could have took Michael Carter. Even the national media agrees with us. Okay, people, we're not just trying to speak bullshit to you. I mean, Javonte Williams.
What I'm trying to get from Tar Heel fans, they're supposedly Tar Heel. Why is it you don't say anything about Carter? Where's the silence on that?
Yeah, Michael Carter was a way better. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying just what you said. You got a better running back in Carter, but you're not saying anything about him. Where did he end up going?
I don't know. I didn't really.
He went somewhere.
Yeah, he probably will go. He'll probably be like the James Robinson from the Jaguars, like a Philip Lindsay for the Broncos. You have to get rid of those players. A lot of people don't like them.
You hit it on the head when you were saying, why are you even moving up for this guy?
Yeah, you could have got him. If you were so high on Javonte Williams, why didn't you just stick? Oh, well, the sources were saying that Miami was going to go get him. Okay, well, then you could have got a right tackle. Like, people don't understand how this works. Like, okay, you lose out on Michael Carter. Okay, well, you know what? You can get a running back.
Maybe.
Or Javonte Williams. My apologies, guys. I'm sorry about that. But okay, now the defensive line. Can I just? Is this even a conversation that we need to have? Me and you've been talking about it for years.
No, you got Draymond Jones, who's robbing it. He's not a Batman. Yeah. He's a Robin. And if he did have a Batman, he could be
Sheldon Rankins. If you had Sheldon Rankins on this roster, he could have been the Robin to the Rankins. And another thing, a lot of people like to say that you just produced 5 videos. Literally, I had a conversation with a guy on the comment section on that video that literally admitted to me that he's better in a 5-tech. You're on a 3-4 defense. That's a 4-3 defense. A 5-tech's a 4-3 defense. So basically what you're saying is I'm right, but you're saying that I'm wrong on the other hand, saying that he's better in a 5-tech. I literally have said that he could be better in a 5-tech, but we run a 3-4 defense. Where's the logic in that, commenters? I don't understand.
So what happens is when the Broncos get beat, there's only one. There's 2 excuses. You don't have to focus on one. You can focus on 2.
It's the in between excuse bullshit.
It's because we don't talk about anything else. On those other channels, it's got to be Bridgewater. It's got to be Locke. Oh, they got to go. It's all them. It's not the guy that sits up at the very top.
Elway, the director of player personnel. The director
of what?
Player personnel. Unbelievable, these people. Unbelievable.
I just thought he was a ghost. He doesn't.
He's not a ghost.
Yeah, he doesn't even have an office there. What are you talking about?
And I also want to bring up something. I want to say, I want to give you where credit is due. You literally said this offseason, it's just going to be another Elway offseason. And I have a theory that I brought up to you that basically agrees with your logic. I mean, I think what happened is that Elway's getting the first-hand picks in free agency in the draft, and Peyton is just getting those mid-round picks, those lower tier, like the Isaiah Popes, Isaiah Max. He's getting those type of guys, but Elway's getting the big names.
Well, a name. Did I hear a name? Yeah, she blows.
Yep, Bobby Massey, guys. You ready for him to get hurt too?
Well, that's Fangio, because he came from Chicago. That's got to be Fangio, even though Fangio is a defensive guy, but I don't know.
Well, our defense is gonna, our defensive line ain't gonna get any penetration up the middle. I've been saying this for 5 years.
No, unless the offensive line that they're up against was like Miami. That's the only time they really they got. Yeah. Other than that, it was War and Peace. I've got to read this book. War and Peace. Oh, I can throw it now. And that's something that really. I was listening to bad information on other Broncos channels, and they were talking about Locke not looking off and not going for progression. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sorry.
No, I'm like, wait a minute. When you have inconsistency on the offensive line, you are not going to get look-offs. You're not going to get read-throughs. You've got to get rid of it quick because you don't know when they're going to hold up for you and when they're not, especially when you play a team like Tampa, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens. They're coming up.
Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills last season. Yeah, you do not have the luxury. And who knows? I think even when they were playing the Jets, I think that the offensive line was having trouble with their defensive line. So.
You brought a great point. Inconsistency on the offensive line. It's not just that; it's inconsistency in play calling and rush and getting a graveyard full of offensive coordinators. And then you have receivers that you were the first person to bring up there run lazy routes, and complain about the ball being thrown too hard and dropping it and being scared to catch it in the middle of the field like an Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith did back in the day.
Yeah, we only had one, a couple bright spots in the receiver. For all the fans, we got receivers. There's two guys that really, you could really say that they have, and the surprise, well, I was surprised, not Hamilton, but Hamler.
Yeah, Hamler in Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland was a pleasant surprise, but I don't know if he'll ever see the light of day. Not with drop
He'll
Judy.
Be your Juwan Winfrey. He'll be your Juwan Winfrey.
Then
Yep.
Yeah. Then you got drop Judy. We'll just call him drop. How about if we call him drop Judy?
I call him Jerry Duty.
Jury duty?
Yeah, Jury Duty, Jerry Duty, whatever.
Like duty, like he's got to go duty.
And it's nothing that I don't hate Jerry Judy here. I just you passed up on Tristan Wirfs. And look, and you passed up on and I'm not saying that Jerry Judy's a terrible player. I think he's an excellent route runner. But he has that attitude of he has that baby mindset.
Well, when
you haven't played in the National Football League. I don't have to play in the National Football League to know when he's on the sideline and none of the players want anything to do with him when he's throwing his freaking fits.
Well, I just wonder if Cortland he's going to get an earful. That's what, we'll see how. And again,
and maybe that will make Jerry Judy a better player, like Sanders did to Cortland Sutton. Maybe that will help.
Yeah. Well, with Sanders, here's the thing about Cortland Sutton, bringing him up, is that he had that MCL. I think it was an MCL. He had the tear.
He tore his ACL.
ACL. Okay, the ACL. So he had the tear. He still has to come back from that.
Just like Bradley Chubb.
Yeah. So it may be halfway through the season. Most players, they come back from that, but some players don't all the way. So that's always a possibility too. And I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I'm just saying that there's going to be a building up to where he was before.
Yeah, he has to get back in the swing of things in football, in the practice, in the going against different opponents that are game planning against him on a weekly basis, against corners, top flight corners.
He's got to trust that knee.
Yeah, you have to trust that knee again. Exactly. Yeah. And I just want to back to our point about the schedule. I'm not going to make any record predictions because I think this team is. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I have to see how the preseason goes, and a lot of people want to get rid of the preseason, which I don't understand. I love the preseason because I get to see other players and I get to see, okay, well maybe this guy can contribute on the team or on special teams or whatever. I like the preseason. A lot of people think it's boring, but that's my time of evaluating talent that could not make this roster. That down the line, if they need to come in, if a Bobby Massey or Cameron Fleming get hurt, you can bring him in and he can play.
That's because they're not GMs. They're not coaches.
Yeah, Phil Lindsay wasn't a GM. Yeah, we just let him go.
No, I'm talking about they're not GMs. I'm talking about I'm talking about the people who don't want preseason. They're not a GM and they're not a coach. It's crucial. All the coaching staff. Now, if you're say for instance, you're the Chiefs, the Patriots with Tom Brady, you got your system down. It's not as crucial. But let's say for instance, maybe even in the Indianapolis Colts, you can maybe coast by. Well, let's say you're the Denver Broncos and you're trying to get this mess figured out.
Yep.
And you're trying to evaluate and you're trying to get people that aren't used to this, the system, like last year in particular. You bring in a new offensive coordinator. Everybody's trying to learn. It's
wide receiver sets. Oh yeah.
Yeah, your game is go. Your games. Your first 4 games of the season are going to be preseason, because you're still going through evaluations. You're still, as players, trying to learn the system. So yeah, you have something that's called a game, but in reality, the real world, it's a scrimmage.
And a lot of people like to bring up how, and I just want to bring this up with Drew Lock. I honestly think that he is gonna. I really do believe that he's gonna shove it to all the fans, STR and Elway. I hope I really do believe he's going to. I think he's gonna come out here with his head on fire, and I think he's gonna have a pretty good season. I really do. And I'm talking about the quarterbacks, but a lot of people like to bring up, he wasn't looking off and all this, that, and that. He got better down the stretch, ladies and gentlemen. He got a lot better. The tape showed it.
Well, they don't want to look at. They got a film room, but they don't want to look at the film.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to cherry pick and say, and like I said, believe me, I made videos.
And Manning had to save the organization again.
I made videos showing Locke, his footwork not being good, and that's another thing too. Patrick Mahomes is always on himself about his footwork all the time, and so
same with Dak Prescott.
Yes, so quarterbacks working on footwork is not unusual. Another thing I want to dispel too, and this isn't just about Locke. I mean, just in quarterbacks in general, we have what I call spin doctors out there that'll spin. It'll give you statistics so they can give you their spin. Well, Locke throws 64%. I think it's 64% to the right side. Well, almost the same thing as you can be said with Brady. He throws right forward. He throws forward like 58%, which is close. It's close to that 64. So it's just it's a meaningless stat. I mean,
and here this is something that I can just take up to a whole nother level. Could that be with play calling too, with Pat Shurmur, that you guys don't like to bring up at all?
There's a lot of factors that go into that. The offensive line inconsistency goes into that. Matter of fact, he was throwing to his. I can understand why he wants to throw to his right on that play that we talked about with the Raiders that I've showed and got into the argument with the feel-good film guy. Yeah, the feel-good film guy. Noah Fant just running on a 40-yard dash, not chipping, and the play design like this where the free runner's coming right to the guy's back. You guys don't talk about that. Yeah, I showed the film. I didn't talk about the Chief
fans.
Yeah, I showed the film. I showed it. I didn't talk about it. So I can understand, and this isn't like I said, I made videos saying where Locke was screwing up. Okay, so I'm not apologizing. I'm just talking about the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You have to look at it from you can't just be dogging on the quarterback all the time. It's like Mark Slayer. Well, it's like Mark Slayer said with Bridgewater. He, the film that he was watching showed that he was trying to lead he was making sure that the ball didn't get. It looked like an errant throw, but he was just making sure that the ball, his receiver got the best shot at it, and that the defender wouldn't get it. That's fair, but you can't just say that's with that Bridgewater gets that pass, but receivers hang out quarterbacks to dry all the time. You never know it.
Can I just bring this up with the whole? This correlates to the Drew Lock with STR, and I've been, I listened this week. Your everybody's favorite person, Cecil Lammey, how these first few games are going to determine whether Drew Lock is going to be the guy and Teddy Bridgewater is going to come in. Okay, can I just replant this? You were the one that was saying that Paxton Lynch needed to get out of town after 1-2 years. Okay, so I'm not going to take anything that you say serious, Cecil Lammey. I can't do it because you are quarterback killer.
Well, he was pounding the table big time for Paxton Lynch. He was all about Paxton.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, the situation was good. They're doing the same thing, the Drew Lock, that they were doing to Paxton Lynch, basically.
Well,
it's another quarterback competition.
Paxton Lynch are two diametrically different type of people.
Mentally.
Yeah, well, the thing I want to see with Lock is a fire. I don't even know if they're going to put Bridgewater. I mean,
no, I think it's going to be it's the STR's bringing it up, and everything STR says is right because they're getting talking points from Dove Valley how it's going to be quarterback competition 2.0. So we're going to have the Trevor Siemian Paxton Lynch thing that me and you have been talking for months.
Yeah, getting some raindrops here. I may have to. But
okay.
We're okay. I want to see if I had anything to put over my keyboard. That should be okay. Anyway, yeah. There's no really anything in depth. You got a film room, but you're just claiming you got a film room, and then just keeping with your old talking points, your Dove Valley talking points.
But we got to make sure every time we talk about this stuff that we have to calm down because we are just like liberals. We get easily irritated. How the fuck am I liberal?
Well, I don't know. Look at it this way: that you must have been irritated. You must have been irritated from the beginning just to make that comment. But
I'm a liberal.
I got an announcement though. I'm going to get the all 22 film. And I'm going to start really making it a point to really look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and tell it straight. I know you don't know what you're saying. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, he didn't chip that guy and went 40 yards. You didn't know what you saw, and then nail Drew Lock in the back as hard as he can. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
Yep, and you can also make up that we were right on Jawan James yet again. He got cut because they were forced to cut him, and you're gonna have a guy in LA named Rashawn Slater who's gonna ball out, who I think is gonna be an All-Pro player.
Yeah, who's Slater gonna go up against on the Denver Broncos on the D line?
I think it's gonna be Chubb and or Von Miller.
Yeah. So he'll be able to, and you know what? As far as the RNs, Chubb and Von Miller, if we could just get push up the middle, get some push. All you have to get, if you want sack production, get the push up the middle so that the quarterback's got to repel away from that push up the middle, and then they go right into.
This is Von Miller's last year in Denver anyway.
Well, they'll drum him out of town because there's going to be no push up the middle. Oh, well, Von Miller, look, he's finished. That's my prediction for this season. No push up the middle will mean no.
Yep.
I got to get inside because I'm starting to get some rain.
Well, I think that we touched up on our points, I believe. So
yeah. getting ready for the regular season.
Yep.
All right. Well, I better get this in and dry it off before I go get a short out.
All right. Talk to you later.
Take care, man.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.